Welcome back. Governor David Ige's latest COVID-19 emergency proclamation is set to expire on November 30th.
Some people, including some state lawmakers, are concerned about those orders. One of them is State House Representative Val Okimoto. Thank you so much for being here tonight.
Aloha. Thank you for having me, Nicole and Rick.
And so just talk about your concerns with the governor's proclamations. We know he's had at least 20 during the pandemic.
Yes. First of all, thank you for having me on. You know, when COVID first came out nearly 2 years ago, I think all of us were uninformed. We didn't know what to expect. So we kind of followed and we understood the need to have emergency proclamations. But now that we're 20 months in to almost 2 years in, I have had concerns, and greatly because our governor continues to use these executive orders to now push decisions on the state, and there's really no metric. And I think that's my concern. Now that we're 2 years into it, initially we heard, at 70% of vaccination rates, that's when the regulations would be lifted, the restrictions would be lifted. And now we're, I believe, at over 72%, and still we haven't had any change. And so really, I've always been about accountability, transparency, and so I feel that if we're going to say something to the people, we need to have follow through. And I think our constituents, the people that put us into office, have that right. Right now, they're hearing that there's no one metric, and that it's uninspiring. It doesn't give elected officials the trust that the people have instilled in us. So we need to really hold ourselves accountable. And I feel that this is an opportunity that needs to be taken, definitely.
Representative, what are some of the things specifically in these proclamations that you have a bad feeling about, that you want to have repealed?
Definitely, I've spoken up initially. I've always been vocal about the mandates that have been placed upon the people, both government employees and across the board. But, I understand. I actually was able to meet with the governor a couple of months ago, and I'm grateful for that conversation. And I look forward to continuing the conversation. But now that we have been able to reach the over 70%, I do think that we need to open up. I don't think that constantly living in fear or thinking that we're going to get rid of the virus, I think that's unrealistic. We need to realize that this is a virus. It will continue to be a part of our lives, and we've been able to do the best that we can, offering the vaccines to those who feel the need to take it, and putting the mitigations that are necessary, offering the COVID testing. But we definitely need to open up the businesses. We can't keep on telling our local businesses that they can only operate at 50%, or they can only allow certain people into their establishments. That's not going to help us. I definitely feel that we need to keep the schools open. I'm a parent. I was a former teacher, and I think the schools need to stay open, and we need to find ways to, again, kind of get back to normal. I'm glad to hear sports are opening up again, but we need to continue the path instead of regressing, keep on moving forward and find a way to live with this virus.
So when you say reopen, what are specific things you're trying to reopen? Because it's easy to say, let's reopen, but realistically, what, with no metrics available, would you want to develop a metric? What are you trying to base it on? And really, what kind of change are you trying to make here? I know you're saying we need to open up more.
Yeah, and I think if you leave the state of Hawaii, and I recognize that we live in a unique place, I understand that, but anybody who has left the state and visited other states, you'll recognize quickly, or even if you turn on the TV, you'll realize very quickly that everybody's kind of gone back to their somewhat normal lives. So when I say going back to normal, I do mean letting businesses open up more than 50%, allowing businesses to be able to allow more people into their establishments. I would gladly work with the governor or whoever would like to discuss these things, and the professionals that have information on this. I've heard experts from the food and restaurant. I've seen them on the news, Chamber of Commerce, talk about how they've done everything they can to follow these regulations that have been placed on them. And we need to allow more people into these establishments. We need to not stop. I can't go back. I can continue to go back to the restaurants because they're still required to have, I believe, is it 6 feet now? And they can't open fully. One of my favorite burger places on the North Shore won't even allow people into the restaurant because of the regulations. And I know that hinders their businesses and their establishments, allowing people to gather again, to meet we live in a free country, and we need to allow people the right to choose what they choose to do, what they want to do, with the knowledge of what's the best thing for them and their children and their families, health-wise. But I would gladly discuss these things with the governor, with our Department of Health leaders, because we can't continue to live under this. We're not sure. The goalpost keeps moving. First, again, it was the 70%. We have to have some kind of attainable place to meet, and there has to be accountability. If the leaders are going to say that this is what we're going to follow.
Representative, I hate to interrupt you. We have about a minute left, and I really want to get this question in there. I'm so sorry. But just,
No problem.
You're not the only lawmaker who is concerned about these mandates. I mean, are you and other lawmakers who are concerned planning to take official action to maybe try and change these policies?
I'm hoping. I would like to, we are going into our legislative session, and I personally hope that the Capitol will open up again. It's still closed, and I think that we need to allow public discussion. I do think that we have enough educated lawmakers. Hopefully we can come to a decision before the legislature has to come in and legislate this, because I don't necessarily think it's necessary. But if in January we're still dealing with this, and yes, I would gladly I'd like to work. I know Speaker Saiki has come out recently also in support of addressing this concern of the extended emergency proclamations and the authority of the governor. But, I do feel that the public should be heard. And that's why I'm hoping that the Capitol will open up and we can have public hearings like before. We are put into office elected by the public, and we need to address that and acknowledge that. And then reinstill the trust that they're placed within us as their elected officials.
Representative Okimoto, thank you so much for your time tonight. We'll see what happens November 30th when the latest emergency proclamation expires. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
And we do actually want to emphasize that we did reach out to Governor David Ige's office, and we'll let you know what his response is to tonight's segment.